Welcome to episode 99.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Who Did That Voice, where we take an in-depth look at voiceovers.
Ready to take a vacay, but you just don't have the time to plan? Let the agents at 3D Travel Company pamper you and take care of all the little details. Find us at www.whodidthatvoice.co and click the Book Now button on the left-hand side. For a limited time, Who Did That Voice listeners can receive a Disney gift card for qualifying Disney and Universal trips, booked and traveled by 2017. Hurry and book today so you can travel away.
Merry Christmas and welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at voiceover. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the show. Today I am super excited to be bringing you an interview with the voice of Peter Pan from Jake and the Neverland Pirates. So let's dive into a clip made especially for you and me.
Hi everybody, it's Peter Pan, and this is Who Did That Voice. Here we go, up to Who Did That.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Who Did That Voice. Today I am so pleased to be bringing you Adam Wylie. Adam, thanks so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you for having me today. I'm very excited.
I am too. You know, Adam, the very first thing we like to do when we have a guest on the show, especially for the first time, is get to know them. Tell me about little Adam growing up and how did he become the man he is today and the actor he is and more specifically the voice actor that he is today.
Wow, that's a very interesting question. I've never been asked that before. Honestly. So, well, little Adam was a little redheaded kid, boundless energy. And one of my older brothers was acting and doing some things, and my mom said, "Hey, you know, he should start doing this." And so I did, and started acting, started booking a few jobs. And how the voiceover thing came about was I was a singer from a very young age. My mom was like, "Hey, you know, you need to learn how to sing." I was like, "Yeah, sure, that sounds like fun." So I went to a singing lesson and really enjoyed it, and just kind of kept going back and had a lot of fun and had a great singing teacher. And then after that, my agent, which was CED at the time, I believe, they had decided to represent me for lots of different areas, including voiceover. And, you know, I had no idea what that meant, being so young. So I went on, you know, a few auditions. I think one of my first ones that I ever booked voiceover-wise was being Timmy the Angel for Precious Moments. I think I was like 5.
Are you kidding?
And
I love that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I did that, and they were like, "Yeah, since you sing, it really helps doing voiceover." And I was like, "Oh, okay, great." And I started like going to a dialect coach and like learning different accents. And, you know, I would always fake sing opera.
Yeah.
And that made my mom think, "Oh, maybe he can do different voices." And sure enough, you know, I would imitate different voices and such. And it just kind of expanded from there. And I got really good at mimicking other people or other accents or other sounds. So, yeah, it just grew.
Wow, Adam, that is so special. Thank you for sharing that, especially about Timmy the Angel. That was one of my favorite characters growing up, and I did not know that was you.
It's so funny. A lot of people say that, and I'm like, no way, you actually saw that? Like,
wow. Yeah, man, I grew up on all those old classics. You know, my dad was a pastor, so I grew up on all the family-friendly kid shows and stuff, especially.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I do a lot of Adventures in Odyssey, too, since I was really little.
What?
Yeah. Since
what
I was
character?
Really little. I'm Ryan for the most part.
Okay, wow, because I've been listening since I was 2 when they came out as Chick-fil-A cassette tapes.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, Katie Lee was my first guest on the show.
Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I had no clue.
Yeah, I've been doing that. I've been doing Adventures in Odyssey since I was very little. So, and then when I was in my adult years, I became Ryan, of course, who I started out voicing Ryan when he was 12.
Yeah.
And now that he is through high school and captain of the basketball team, I've been voicing him through that. So it was very fun.
Wow, dude, that is so epic. I've been listening to you my whole life and had no clue.
Yeah, right?
Wow, that is so epic. And those are two that I did not even have prepared, and those are definitely blowing me out of the water, Adam. Thank you.
That's awesome. Of course.
Wow. And that's why we dive into who you are, because it blows me away sometimes just as much as it blows my guests away.
I understand. Yeah, there's a lot
Wow.
of things that you wouldn't expect. You hear different things, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, that's just blah 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 character. And you, in a sense, when you listen to that, you create your own, your own version of what they look like or who they are. And sometimes it's just like, what? That was the person who did that voice? Are you kidding?
Yeah, yeah. And that's why the show is called Who Did That Voice? So people can know who did it, you know? So
That's very cool.
wow, you know, that's epic. And you know, the first thing that I really knew that you had done was the young Prince Derek from Swan Princess.
Swan Princess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was one I absolutely loved growing up because I love music, and I was in musicals and theater and stuff. And so the music was so beautiful and the animation was so well done. And I was like, wow, he was Prince Derek. That's super cool.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, I remember that. I remember recording that. I remember they actually brought in my voice teacher for
Nice.
for that first song, and it was so much fun. Like I had a blast recording that. I mean, I know it was just a little snippet, but it was so fun being able to sing and like do that and then have it come out and be so well received, and everyone just, a lot of people loved it growing up, and I love hearing that. To be honest, I don't think I've ever seen the movie all the way through.
Oh, wow, man. You've got to sit down and watch it. It's really, really good.
I
It
heard
really
it's incredible,
is.
and
It is.
I have not sat down and watched it.
Especially considering when it came out in 1994, the animation, I think, was well ahead of its time in several regards, because some of the things they were doing haven't really been done until more recent with some of the CG stuff that they've created, but it was all, I believe, hand drawn in that one. So it's quite amazing.
Wow.
Quite amazing.
Yeah, I've obviously watched the first half of it, at least, and I really enjoyed it. And I think I wasn't able to finish it because I had like an appointment or something, and I just never got back to it.
Oh, I hear
But
you.
I should really get back to that one.
Absolutely. I highly recommend it. And, Adam, that's wonderful. I really appreciate what you've dove into so far. It's been fantastic already. And we have some really other great characters to dive into as well, such
Awesome,
as
I'm excited.
Jimmy Olsen from Superman Doomsday back in 2007.
Very, very fun.
Yeah.
One of the few recordings where everyone is in the same room together. Adventures in
Awesome.
Odyssey does the same thing because it is radio and we're allowed to overlap, which is such a different concept from doing animation where you're not allowed to overlap.
Yeah.
But everybody, all of us were in the same room together, and that was really cool because, you know, Anne Heche was there, and it was me, and, you know, Superman, and it was crazy. Like, it was so cool. And I remember I remember Andrea Romano actually calling me and saying, hey, you know, there's Jimmy Olsen's part, and I would love for you to do it. And I was like, yes. Yes. Okay, that sounds fantastic. I will do that. And
Wow.
just, it was this whirlwind of an awesome time. And we recorded that at the Sherman Oaks Galleria here in Los Angeles, because there used to be a Warner Brothers building on the Sherman Oaks Galleria.
Really?
Yeah, and now it moved to the Warner lot on Hollywood Way. But back in this time, it was the same booth that we recorded Legion of Superheroes in, and it was pretty cool that I felt like I was home because I'd been doing, you know, the series in that booth. And then at the same time, I did Superman Doomsday. And I remember going to San Diego Comic-Con and it being gigantic there. And the handout that year was a Superman Doomsday bag, and it was like 5 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
And it was so cool. And I still have one of those bags.
Oh,
Pretty
wow.
awesome.
That is super epic, Adam. Well, you mentioned Legion of Superheroes, and that was definitely something I was going to dive into, where you
Sure.
played Brainiac 5, which I loved that show, and I hated that it ended
Oh, we did
so
too.
quickly. It didn't
Yeah,
last very long, and I was so sad because it had such a good premise, and
really did.
and then they actually brought the concept of the Legion of Superheroes, because that was around the time where Smallville was going, and they started bringing the concept to the live action show as well.
Yeah, exactly. Um, we had a blast. I mean, that whole I still talk to a lot of people from that cast. I mean, Yuri Lowenthal is a buddy of mine, and he's done everything under the sun.
Oh yeah.
And at first, he was actually called. We had Superboy, and then we had to change it to Superman, and because Superboy was from the comics, but then there was like some kind of a rights issue or something like that, and Will Wheaton was on the show. He was Cosmic Boy. Let's see. It was such a fun show, and I still talk with like all of those guys. I see them, on different auditions or like different stuff all around town, which is so cool.
Yeah.
But it was great. I played Brainiac 5. I played Colossal Boy, and who else did I? I did one more thing. I can't remember. But yeah, Brainiac 5 was obviously my main one, and then when Colossal Boy would come in and out, I would do Colossal Boy as well. So all of us played about 2 or 3 different roles in that show, which was very cool.
And what was it like for you getting to work with Andrea Romano? Because she is such a visionary.
She's fun. She's really fun. I love Andrea Romano. I've worked with her on several projects throughout the years, and she's full of energy. She's she bounces back and forth, and she's a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
She's a great fun director to work with for sure.
Yeah, and she just recently retired, so I was sad to hear that, because
Yeah.
she's been such an inspiration on not just the DC world and superheroes in general, but
Sure.
so many other wonderful projects throughout the 30-year career she had.
Yeah, no, she was a lot of fun to work with. I mean,
That's awesome.
I had a blast every time working with her.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm so glad we got to dive into Brainiac 5 a little bit. He was such a funny little character, and you're kind of like, how can a Brainiac be a good character? But it was Brainiac 5, and he was a more evolved version, and it was just a very unique spin I had never seen on Brainiac before, and I love that he was actually a good guy in this show.
Absolutely. Well, he turns bad. He turned bad at the end of season 2, or started to. You started to see how the wiring started to change.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about Legion of Superheroes, if I can touch on this subject, is the different directors that we had, and the history personally I had with the different directors. So at first we started out with Sue Blue, who you may know from like Friday the 13th and all of, she was in a bunch of movies and did a lot of voiceover stuff. Now, I worked with Sue when I was very little, when I was the voice of Dennis the Menace.
Oh, wow.
In the New Adventures of Dennis. So that was really cool because it was nostalgia for me, because I had been working with her since I was 8.
Wow.
Which was crazy. And I was like, whoa, that's so gnarly. And then Kelly Ward took over. And what's interesting about Kelly is he directed me for All Dogs Go to Heaven 2 when I was 8. So I had known him also since I was 8, which was so crazy. And then he ended up also directing Jake and the Neverland Pirates.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
That was just, I can't remember if it was Sue Blue first or Kelly first. It's all a jumbled mess. I was actually doing Wicked at the same time that I was doing Legion of Superheroes.
Wicked the musical?
Yeah.
What were you in Wicked?
Yeah. I was Bach.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. On the original cast, or?
No, I auditioned for the original cast, but I was very, very young at the time. And
okay. Wow. That is my favorite
I did
musical.
it during. Oh, really? That's awesome. I did it. Wow. I did the original LA cast in 2007 at the Pantages.
Wow, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
The music in that is stellar. I cannot wait for that to actually become a feature film. You should totally audition for that, Adam.
It's pretty great, Lord willing, I will. So
oh, wow.
We'll see.
That is super epic. Well, I had no clue. I mean, you've really blown me away with some of the behind the scenes extras that I didn't know about. When you said Wicked, I'm like, it could have been anything, but I'm like, are we talking the musical? Like, wow,
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow. And that's amazing. I mean, that you've been able to reconnect with some of these people that have been so inspirational in your life, Kelly and Sue Blue, and just different people, how they've played a part in your life at one point
They've
and then
really
come
shaped
back
the
and
voice actor who I am. Like definitely like Kelly and Sue.
yeah.
And I did Jumanji, the animated series with Sue as well.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Which is funny because one of my best friends is Bradley Pierce, and who was in the movie Jumanji.
Yeah,
So it was
yeah.
kind of funny because both of us. Then he did the voice of Beauty and the Beast. I did the Broadway show Beauty and the Beast. It was just like we kept mirroring each other, which was kind of funny.
Wow, that is so funny. Yeah, Bradley and I actually talked just shortly after the new Beauty and the Beast film had released, and we were talking about the animated and Jumanji, and he actually said that he left his autograph on the inside of The Rock's belt and his stunt double.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. But wow, that is super cool that you guys are friends. He is such a great guy, such a sweet man, and had some great stories to share with us too.
Awesome.
Well, that's cool. Well, you know, another great set of characters that you got to play that I'm a huge fan of are JT, Pierce, and Grandpa
Oh,
Max
yeah.
as a kid from Benton.
Oh man, I've got stories about that one.
I can't wait to hear.
Ben 10. Tara is like one of the best people on the planet. Like Tara is so fun to work with, I have to say.
Yeah.
Still good friends with her. She's just awesome. And interesting story. I actually went in to audition for Ben 3 times.
Wow.
So Chris brought me in, and Alex Soto, the producer of Ben 10, who I'm still super good friends with, both of them, brought me in to audition for Ben 10. And my ex-girlfriend at the time was just waiting in the audition with me, was not going to, just kind of drove with me.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Do you want to audition?" And she was like, "Okay." So she ended up booking Gwen.
Wow.
And she was Gwen for the entire series. And then, later on down the road, I didn't book Ben, which was totally cool. And then I ended up being JT, or not JT. Was I JT? Yes, because D. Bradley Baker was Cash. Okay. JT and young Grandpa Max, actually.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was a lot of fun. And I mean, that whole cast is so cool. They were just all awesome people to work with, and it was a lot of fun. Like Fred Tatasciore is such an incredible voice actor, such a great guy. D. Bradley Baker also, he can do things with his voice that I just never dreamed a human being could ever do. And the things that he does, just every single time you record, he's using his hands near his mouth and just, and you're like, what is that? What is that? How are you making that sound? And he's just, I mean, incredible. And Chris is a wonderful director. Chris does things where she will tell you, can you make your character like 3 days older? Okay, great. And you're like, I don't know how you got that out of me by saying 3 days older, but I weirdly, I knew exactly what you meant. That whole show was really well put together and just so much fun. And it really like took the world by storm, I feel, in so many ways.
Yeah.
But everybody on that show, I mean, just Paul Eiding as Grandpa Max, he's such a wonderful man. Like that guy, and with the Transformers history with him, we kind of have a bond with that because I did the Transformers video game, and so it's just so much fun, like hanging out with all of these iconic, like voiceover actors, and I believe John DiMaggio was on that show for a few times too.
Oh, wow.
And my God, that guy is a nonstop laugh riot. Just, I don't know. Sometimes we wouldn't even get work done because him and I would be joking around. He'd be like, show me magic. And like, this is during recording.
Wow, that is so fun. Yeah, I know I've heard some things about John being just a complete crack up, and people just seem to love the heck out of that guy.
He's great. He is a nonstop laugh right on the mic and off.
Yeah.
Just such a fun energy.
Well, when you talk about Ben 10 taking the world by storm, I believe so, Adam, in that retrospect of what you were talking about, because, the theme song was just so amazing. It was so unique and catchy, and the show premise was just so amazing. I collected the entire original series because it was just that good, and I kind of was growing out of collecting DVDs as much as Benton kind of evolved beyond that, but I have all the initial ones when it released for the first time before the different evolutions he's had. But yeah, and wasn't Tara Strong Ben 10?
She was in the
Okay.
original series. Yeah, she was Ben 10 forever.
Wow.
And then as he got older during the rebrands, Yuri Lowenthal took over.
Okay. Yeah, and wow, I mean, yeah, Ben 10 and Gwen and all of them, and they became almost like Batman and Robin to me, you know, and like the characters that we've grown up loving and knowing since we were kids. It became like these characters that you feel like you knew your whole life anyway because they were so well
Absolutely.
established, you know.
Yeah, and there's a new Ben 10 now out.
Wow, really? Wow.
Yeah,
That's
there's a new
awesome.
series.
Is it
So it's still going.
relaunched, or is it how is that one? Is it a continuation?
I haven't watched a full episode of it yet. I just saw
Okay.
the previews for it.
Okay.
It looks like a rebranding.
Wow.
So,
Well, it's definitely
yeah.
a show that's probably still worth watching because the way they've done Benton, every time I've seen it, it's been fantastic, whether he's grown up or it's kind of rebooted or whatever. He's just a
Sure.
character that I could see living on forever and eventually maybe joining some team like the Avengers or DC Comics or something, you know, and kind of
Definitely,
doing
I
a
think that would be a
crossover.
really good fit.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, with all of his different powers and the things that he could do, I think that would be a really great idea.
Well, and there's so much alien connection with so many superhero movies today that it would totally
yeah.
make sense for there to be some kind of tie-in with, you know, Vilgax or something and be like, boom, this is how it
Sure.
connects. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a really great concept, actually. It could be Vilgax's watch that he dropped or
Yeah.
what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that would be super epic. And then it's like, you know, Doomsday's cousin or something, you know?
Right, exactly.
And then they're
Wow.
like, how does this connect? That is so cool. But wow, you know, who knows what the possibilities could be for Ben 10, but you know, they've made feature films, they've made animation, and I think the opportunities for his character in that franchise is endless. So
Definitely.
absolutely. Well, Adam, one of the absolute favorite characters that I loved growing up was a character called Peter Pan. Do you know Peter Pan?
It sounds familiar, but I'd have to research it a little bit.
Yeah, he's not very well known. No, I'm just kidding. But
No.
Peter Pan from Jake and the Neverland Pirates, super epic role. I was watching it last night just to kind of refresh. And dude, I'm talking to you now. I feel like I'm talking to Peter Pan. It's super epic.
That's awesome. It's literally my favorite. It is my favorite voiceover job I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
It is. I had a blast being Peter Pan. You know, that show lasted for 5 years, and it was just some of the best 5 years I have to say of my voiceover career. My nickname was Peter Pan growing up. You know, I actually believed I could fly.
Yeah.
And I always, you know, loved the character so much, and they didn't bring very many of us in for the role. And I remember Scott Mensville going in before me and just nailing it. They were like, well, he nailed it, so you got a lot to live up to. And I was like, oh, crap. And, you know, I had auditioned for Peter Pan a few years before for one of the films that I believe Matt Wolf ended up doing.
Okay.
And I was like, man, you know, I really wanted to be Peter Pan. And it just like destroyed me because it's like my favorite role of all time.
Yeah.
It's really one of my favorite characters of all time.
Yeah.
And so just auditioning for it gives you so many feelings that you can't even put them all into words. It's just overwhelming as all can be. And so I went into that audition room and just was like, all right, I've voice matched this before. Let's just do it. And then as soon as I was like,
Second star to the right and straight on till morning.
it was like done. I was just like, I'm in this. No one can take this away from me. I am Peter in this moment. And I just had so much fun with it. And man, I felt so great. And they were like, you sing, right? And I was like, yeah. And so I found out I got the role, and they hired a Mickey Mouse within the same week. And they were like, wow, we have a new Mickey. We have a new Peter. This is awesome. And I was like over the moon. I was on like cloud 2000. Like, I can't even tell you how incredibly excited I was to start voicing Peter Pan and sing as Peter and all of these things. And the crew could not be better on Jake and the Neverland Pirates, from Kelly to Rob to everybody. Just so incredibly amazing and sweet and beautifully done and drawn, and the music is incredible. And it was like a series like none other, and it was so much fun to be able to be a part of. And we've done Lego games and so many cool, awesome things with it. It really was a dream come true to be Peter, and you feel that magic. You every time I stepped into the mic to be Peter or even his shadow or what have you, it was just pure magic.
Well, Peter Pan has always been super magical to me, and he does give you that belief that you can fly and do anything. And,
Yeah.
I think all voice actors in some retrospect and regard have to have kind of the Peter Pan-esque essence, because, you have to be young at heart. You have to be crazy wild and do funny voices and just kind of let yourself go. And so I think there's a little Peter Pan in all of us, especially in the voiceover
Absolutely.
industry.
There's gotta be. There's
Yeah.
gotta be a little Peter Pan in you, otherwise you won't survive, I feel. And it's such a frame of mind, to have a childlike sense of the world with still being grounded in adulthood. And I think that's a lot of Peter, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. He really has learned a lot and been around a long time, but he still keeps that childlike essence about him.
Yeah.
And that's so very important to the character.
I couldn't agree more, Adam. Well, growing up as a kid, was there a certain cartoon character or show growing up that you attached to and really kind of had an essence of, wow, this is me?
Oh, so many. There wasn't just one. There was a bunch.
I'm the same way.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was my favorite cartoon show growing up.
Oh, wow,
I mean,
yeah.
if I could be Michelangelo, I would do it in a heartbeat. It would be so much fun to be the voice of a turtle. And I auditioned a couple times for the new animated series, but it just didn't work out. I auditioned for Raphael, I auditioned for Michelangelo, I auditioned for Casey Jones, and it just didn't work out, which is fine. But it just would have been cool to say, oh my gosh, I got to voice a turtle. Gargoyles was one I really attached to growing up. Got to do an episode of that growing up, which was
yeah.
like a fanboy dream, and I nearly wet myself going into that recording. I was
Wow.
just so blown away that I was actually recording for Gargoyles. Batman was a huge part of my childhood, still is a huge part of me, and I got to do a Batman Beyond. That was insane too. Just that whole continuation of the Batman story of after Batman, and it's just so cool, like, to be able to see the cartoon show and be able then to do the cartoon show. Beetlejuice the animated series, that was another one that I really connected with, that I thought was so awesome. Never got to do that show, but really enjoyed that as a kid growing up. DuckTales, woo! Who didn't love DuckTales?
Yeah.
I mean, that was like, and also Darkwing Duck.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
I mean, out of smoke and he appears. I mean, like,
Yeah.
just the entire everything of it. You can't get that Darkwing Duck out of your head. It's just like one of the coolest things, and I wanted to be Darkwing Duck. I mean, Dennis the Menace too. I watched that even before I was doing the voiceover show, and loved to be like Dennis the Menace, and of course Peter Pan. And there's just so many. I don't know if I'd even begin to get to all of them.
Yeah.
There's so many that were just so epic, and I was mostly into the action adventure cartoons. But there were some others. I never really was huge into anime.
Yeah.
But I watched everything on Saturday morning. I watched everything on Nickelodeon,
Yeah.
all of those shows. Doug, Rugrats. I mean, like, Doug is a huge part of my childhood too. And it's hearing Billy West, who also was in Legion of Superheroes, like, it's just so cool. Hearing him as Doug and Roger, and now it's so easy to pick out. I can listen to a cartoon and I go, I know who did that. Yep. Okay. All right. I just know. I know these people so intimately because fortunately I've been able to work with them. The voiceover community is so small that you work with them on just about every project, it seems. And the people who are so incredibly talented as voice actors, they don't stop working. And so you get to know their voices and what they can do intimately. And it's so awesome to be able to hear that and go, oh, that's Corey Burton. Yeah, I know. I can tell. or oh, that's Tara, I can tell, or that's Fred, or that's Dee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I can just tell now, and it's so cool.
And Corey Burton voiced Captain Hook, right?
Yes, he did, and he is a genius. Let me tell you, that man is a genius. He's very quiet spoken in real life, and then when he gets on that mic, the voices he comes up with are huge and beyond the world. Like, they are just incredible.
Well, like Crying Brian Dern from Adventures in Odyssey.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've always loved Corey. He's wow, he's a good guy.
Just a
really
huge voice, you know.
Yeah. Well,
Brian,
and
Brian.
when you were talking about Nickelodeon, the thing that came to mind for me was Legends of the Hidden Temple, where Dee Bradley voiced Olmec.
Yeah.
I love that game show. Love that.
It was one of my favorites growing up, and I actually got to do the Double Dare, Legends, and Wild and Crazy Kids All-Stars.
What?
And Guts. Yeah. So
those were such good shows.
I did the All-Stars of that, and my team won, and it was so cool going to Florida and recording that, like, and getting sprayed with gack. Let me tell you that is the most disgusting smell,
dude. Wow,
you have ever smelled in your life, and it's freezing. They have to keep it at such a cold temperature in order for you to preserve it, and because it's edible.
Yeah.
Gack is edible.
What?
Yeah.
Wow,
So,
I did not know that.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
But it's edible. So all of those shows like Finders Keepers and Legends and Guts, like I always wanted to be on Guts. I wanted to be on Guts so bad. I was like, Mom, get me on Guts. I wanna go ahead and meet Mike O'Malley and just be on Guts. I gotta be on Guts and meet Mo, and it would be so exciting. And I ended up doing Into the Woods on Broadway with his sister Carrie O'Malley. Oh, wow. So that was kind of cool. But I never got to be on Guts because I was always too short. You had to be 5 feet tall or more, and you also had to be under 12.
Wow. Okay.
So you could only be 12 years old, but you had to be over 5 feet because of the harnesses.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Who knew?
So because of height, I only grew to almost 5'6". I'm not even quite there yet. 5'5.5". So, I never got to that point where I could actually be on Guts, but I wanted to be so bad.
We'll have to do a
revamp
and go back in time and do a Guts revival, and you can be on that one.
Yeah, right. Me and a bunch of 5'12" and can finally hold a piece of the Admiral Crag.
That's funny. Well, when you were talking about Batman Beyond, you played Kenny Stanton on that show, who was the son of Dr. Stanton, who was a therapist for students that were, or kids that were going through, troubled times with their parents or workers or whatever. And that was season 2 of Batman Beyond, episode 24, called Payback, where Kenny actually uses a suit that mechanizes and kind of makes him the size of an adult. And he kind of goes and gives people payback who have been mean to these kids that his father is mentoring. So it was really cool that you got to be a part of that show. I rewatched it last night. So.
It was so much fun, and reading that script in advance was just like, oh, this is epic, because I was watching the show, so I knew all of season 1. And just being a part of season 2, I was like, what? Are you kidding? I'm currently watching the show.
Well, that has to be pretty epic when you're already involved in it and the show, and then to be able to be a part of it, like with Gargoyles, like that's just super epic.
That was, Gargoyles 2 was just. It was so cool, and that was later on in the show. But,
but still, man, you were a part of it.
Yeah, I was like, I get to be on Gargoyles. You don't understand. This is so cool. And every time I would go to New York as a kid, I would like look at all the gargoyles and be like, do those come alive at night?
That's awesome. Well, Adam, what kind of advice would you give to someone who's looking at getting into this world of acting and maybe kind of the niche of voiceover itself?
I would say getting into acting, it's difficult. It's not easy. Everyone here from the Midwest or what have you moves out here to do exactly what you do. And so there's a lot of competition. That being said, when there's a lot of people, not everyone has the same amount of talent. And if you really have a talent for it, just go for it. You never know what can happen. This is a crazy industry. Sometimes it's about timing. Sometimes it's about look. Sometimes it's about talent. And it just depends on the project, really. And it's a long, tough road. Don't give up. I've been doing this forever. I've been doing this for almost 30 years now.
Wow.
Myself. I've been doing it for 28 years. So it's been a long road, but it's so worth it. The adventures you get, the people you meet, it's so much fun. And don't get discouraged. I mean, for every audition that I actually get the part, there's 1,000 that I did not. And you have to look at every audition as just another way for you to be able to perform, even if it's just that audition. And because relying on it, saying, oh gosh, I need to book this job, I need to book this job, is never a way to look in the acting business. It's just too inconsistent to look at it that way. And you have to think of every opportunity as a chance to perform and a chance to just do what you can do and show anybody you can what you can do. And it's so much fun. And as regard to voiceover, learn every voice that you possibly can do. Make sure that you can play just about anything under the sun. Learn any different accent you possibly can. Learn how to sing. Learn how to do aliens. Learn how to do children to adults to any different character. And really, voice acting is acting in such a different way. Learn the little nuances, like the difference between throwing a punch or getting punched, or lifting something or falling or hitting the ground, and jumping. Those are all different sounds, and not a lot of people really understand, oh my gosh, I have to learn how to, if I'm, seeing something on a wall and I grab it and I take it off versus putting it back on, is so different. And it's such a different aspect that not many people think about.
Absolutely.
And so it's those little tiny things that really give you an edge, an advantage in the voiceover world. And just love it and have fun. Like, I think that's the main part. If you're not having fun, the audience isn't having fun. And really, at the end of the day, this is such a fun art to be able to express. And just enjoy it and go big.
I love your advice. I think it's really solid, Adam. And
Thank you.
like what you were saying with, go into every audition not thinking I have to get this job, but just put your heart into it like you did with Peter Pan, and you just see what happens. Don't fret about it. Don't worry about it. But like when you went in for Benton, you went in audition for Benton and then still ended up on the show, but just not as the character you initially thought you were going to
Exactly.
get.
You never know what's going to happen. And that's the great thing about it, is that just because you audition for a show and you don't get it initially, like Hey Arnold, huge show growing up. I loved it. I got to be a part of it forever. And it was so much fun. Being Curlius, I was thinking Thaddeus. Sorry, Thaddeus Gamblethorpe, Curly. But the great thing about that show is I went in for Arnold. When Torn Caddell had his voice change and ended up becoming Wolfgang, they had replacements, of course, for Arnold, and I went in for Arnold, and that didn't work out, but they loved my voice so much that I ended up being Curly, and that's totally fine. And same thing with Ben 10. It was such an awesome chance to be a part of the show, no matter what capacity. I was happy to just be on the show. Even if you're not the lead or the part that you expected, man, you still get to be a part of it, and that is an awesome experience just as well. Like, it's so cool because you never know what's going to happen. Even in on-camera acting, I went in for Gilmore Girls, and that was supposed to be a one-time thing, just one scene, and that was it. And it ended up being reoccurring for 2 years, and I had so much fun with that show. And I know it's not voiceover, but it just you never know what's going to happen, and it's important to never burn your bridges and always just do good work. People really see good work, especially in voiceover. Voiceover, I feel like, is one of those things where it's not about your look. It is really about how you sound. And it is really about how you can convey this through your voice, how you can act through the spirit of your voice. And it really is incredible. And some of the most talented people I know are voiceover artists, and they can just do anything in the world that you just wouldn't expect. And you never know what's going to come for that. You could have an audition and do really well and not get the part, but that same director is doing a different project and wants you for that. And that's totally worth it.
Absolutely. Well, Adam, thank you so much for diving into that. I have one final question for you today.
Sure.
And the question is, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Oh, wow. I mean, in the voiceover world, I'd say the legacy I want to leave behind is I want to be a great person to work with. And also people say, I didn't even know that was him.
Yeah.
I want to have my voices be so distinct that people don't realize I'm doing it. And I think the anonymity you can develop through the voiceover world and still be popular is such a cool idea and so much fun. And I just want people to have fun listening to my work, even if you know who it is, as long as you're like, oh man, that's such a great, wonderful thing, and I'm just having so much fun doing it, then it's all worth it. I just want people to have fun listening to me, to be honest.
Absolutely. I love it, Adam. I think it's a wonderful legacy that you want to leave behind. And I can't thank you enough for the time we've had to talk about all these wonderful things you've worked on.
Oh, I'm so happy that we got to do this. It was a lot of fun.
Well, Adam, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure having you on the show today. Would you please give us a special closeout today as Peter Pan from Neverland?
I would love to give you a special closeout as Peter Pan. Let me go get him. Hold on one second.
Hey, Peter! Peter! Yes, Adam? Can you close out the show for me? Okay, here we go. Hey, everybody, this is Peter Pan, closing out the show. I'll see you next time beyond the Neversea. See you later. Bye-bye, Trenton.
Well, everyone, I sure hope you enjoyed today's episode with Adam Wylie, the voice of Peter Pan from Jake and the Neverland Pirates, and so much more. And if you did, please find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram by searching Who Did That Voice. I would love to hear from you. A question you might ask yourself is, where can I listen to Who Did That Voice? That's an excellent question. You can hear us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and our website at www.whodidthatvoice.co. Click the Episodes tab and listen away. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for this episode. Join us next time for our 100th episode with special guest Dave Vinoy, the voice of Pong Krell, the Jedi Master from Star Wars The Clone Wars. You won't want to miss this episode. Hey, do you ask yourself who did that voice? Well, if you do, go to our website, www.whodidthatvoice.co, and click on the Episodes tab. Choose an actor, pick their name, and see pictures from the different characters they've voiced in their career.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.